So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a section now called Funding Your Business, and this is ultimately about the most important step in your business. I can talk all day long about systems, strategies, but fundamentally without access to money to start off with, there's not much really you can do with all of that knowledge. So what I found is that the people who are the most resourceful in business, in life, are the most successful ones. Not the cleverest people, not the smartest, not the fastest, but it's not, as they say, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, it's those that are most adaptable to change. And as you know, there's a lot of changes going on right now. And I always refer back to the story of, do you remember Woolworths? Yeah. Remember Woolworths? And what happened to them after 99 years of being in business? They died. They failed overnight, okay? So, anybody heard of a business called Samsung? Yeah. So, what have Woolworths and Samsung got in common? Does anybody know? How did Samsung start in business? Anybody know this? Actually, Samsung started about 110 years ago, well, 117, 118 years ago now, thereabouts. They actually started at pretty much the exact same time as Woolworths. Interestingly, doing the exact same thing as Woolworths. Now, what Samsung have done, they've actually completely changed their business model, actually 13 times. So they went from being a retail outlet to being a wholesaler, and then a manufacturer. And then they've moved through various different transitions as well. In more recent times, the first flat screen TVs that came out was actually Samsung technology, and I think it was Sharp that actually sold the first flat screen TVs. Then they became a manufacturer of TVs themselves, and then more recently they started supplying component parts to the original iPhone. And then they got better than iPhone and actually released their own phones. Now, I'm a big Apple fan myself, but I do know that the Samsung technology is probably slightly better than iPhone. Apart from the one that just blows up and catches fire, but that's just another story, okay? But the point is they've adapted and they've completely changed the business model. And I see a lot of people staying like Woolworths, not changing what they've always done because that was always the dream. And people living the same life, if you like, doing the same thing in business, expecting different results, which as we know is the first sign of what? Insanity, yeah, absolutely. So people do it all the time. People don't fail quick enough, people don't change and adapt. So you've got to move with the time. So fundamentally, you all know about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You've heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The cash flow quadrant talks about where your income comes from. So it's either E, S, B and I. Are you with me on this one? So E and S are on the left-hand side. That stands for employee and self-employed. That's where poor people have the money coming from. For the reason being is you've got to exchange your time for money. Now you can charge a lot of money per hour, but there's only so much you can, so many hours you can work, and only so much you can charge per hour, so that therefore becomes a limit. And if you stop working, you stop earning. Quite as simple as that. Whereas the only way to create wealth is to move from the left side to the right hand side of the quadrant, moving to either the B or the I, which stands for business, or investment. Investment is quite often the best way to make money, but what do you need first in order to make money out of money? Money. And a lot of people are lacking that. So the only option you've got is the B quadrant, which is a business. Who here has a business? Hands up. In fact, stand up for me if you have a business. I'm going to give you a Chris Rowell business test now. So you've got your own business, all right? What I want you to do is, if you can't do any of these things, you need to sit down, okay? So if your business, what you're going to do with your business is you're not going to go in to work tomorrow, okay? In fact, you're not going to go in for a week, 6 months, actually 12 months. So you're going to leave your business alone for 12 months, all right? And any of the staff that are in that business, they can't communicate with you in any way, all right? So if your business can't run without you, you need to be sitting right down right now, okay? Just so that you understand, all right? So your business is now running without you, and the staff cannot communicate with you in any way, shape or form. So you've got enough staff in place to run your business. Now, when you go back to your business is bigger than when you left it. So if it's not the case, then you need to sit down. So all bar one person. So what's your business?
I'm an Amazon seller.
Amazon seller, okay. So the business is running without you, okay. So I think maybe if you leave your business alone for 12 months, do you really think it's going to be bigger?
Yes.
What's the biggest risk with Amazon right now? If you find a successful product, what's Amazon going to do?
Steal it from you.
Steal it from you, okay. So sit down. Right. So my point is this. You know, a business, the definition of a business is a set of systems and procedures that works without you. Write that down. Systems and procedures that works without you. So if you're having to exchange your time for money, if you're having to be involved in the day-to-day running of your business, then it's not a business, it's a job. And if you're not making profits in that business right now, then it's a hobby. and probably quite an expensive one for some people, okay? So the idea of a business is you scale it, you get it to the point where you're working on it, not in it, all right? So Robert Kiyosaki is just one of those people that's very, very different to everybody else, and he has a very different view on raising money. So I'm just going to give you a few things there. Just start to take a note of these. I want you to start thinking outside of the box. I want you to start thinking of different, well done team, I want you to start thinking of different ways of where you can get the money from. Because in my view, a lack of money is the least limiting factor in business. So the thing that's going to stop people doing that is obviously, in their minds, a lack of money. If I was to use the fact that I didn't have any money when I started in business, I wouldn't be here today. Because I was broke. I had no money in the bank, I had no gas on the gas meter, and I went to bed freezing, shivering cold at night because I had nothing. But I still got started within the business. It took me a few months, but I did whatever it took. I was fixing washing machines and dryers. I'll share my story a bit tomorrow, but I was just making money. That's what a lot of people do wrong as well, is we are conditioned through school. If you want to get money, if you want to earn money, what do you need to go and get? A job, and that's the way that we're programmed. But if you take Rich Dad's education, Robert Kiyosaki's education, he talks about learn how to make money. And the way to make money is through business. So any business is the best way to make money. You can make more money through business than anything else. So even if you've got nothing right now, there's still things that you can do. Who here has got any knowledge? That's all. Please all put your hands up. I mean, you know how to get dressed at the very least, don't you? Okay? So the knowledge that you've already got, understand this. Someone somewhere in this world will pay you big money to learn what it is that you already know. Just think about that for a second. So what we need to do is we need to turn that into a digital product. We need to get paid for the knowledge that you've got. In fact, what age do we live in right now? We live in the information age, all right? So in the industrial age, we were taught to go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job with benefits, buy a big house, pay into a pension, and then one day you can retire and live happily ever after. Now, does that work? No. We are in a very, very different age right now. And in the information age, rather than exchanging your time for money, because that's what poor people do, you're now in the information age. So what should we be doing? Sharing information. You can get paid for knowledge. Knowledge is... No, knowledge is currency, right? Get paid for knowledge right now. Who here would pay money if we could show you how to become a millionaire? Duh, of course you would. I mean, you're not going to get that information for free. So I want to know more about investing, so I've paid money for a book. You know, I want to know about how to scale this business, so I will pay for a mentor to come and run through the next steps with me. I've made some money, but what do? Just go and spend that on big plasma screen TVs, or do I invest it into my knowledge and education so I can make even more money? Option B, in case you were wondering, all right? So once you've got access to money, you can do lots of different things. But a lot of people use this. They have these shutters come down, these limiting beliefs that are holding them back, that make them think that they can't move forward because they don't have access to the money. And what I found with experience is that people have tens of thousands of dollars locked up. Every one of you has a spare $100,000, you'd be pleased to know. It's just not in your pocket right now, all right? Where is it? So it's always at the end of a phone call, a conversation, meeting somebody, somewhere in your house as well. So just looking through these right now, the top one up there is savings accounts. Who's got money in a savings account right now? Okay. So what's happening to the value of that money? It's going down all the time. In fact, every 15 years now, the value of your money is halving. It's going down by 50%. So the value of currency is dropping. So just looking very quickly, talking about the banking industry, I mentioned it earlier on. But what used to happen is people used to have bags of gold. You had gold coins and you exchange that because there's limited resources, limited availability, so that gives it a value and you can exchange it for products, goods and services. But it's too bulky and inconvenient to carry around. So the banking industry started up with somebody opening a safe and saying, you put your gold in my safe and I will give you an IOU. I'll give you like an IOU so you can come back and get it. Now up until 1971 in the USA, 1 ounce of gold was $35. So if you had an ounce of gold, you put it in the safe, they would give you an IOU to the tune of $35, which in fact is actually, you've already got those notes on you right now. So your dollar notes, your pound notes, they say on the front of it, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of $10, $20, whatever it is, pounds as well. So all that is, it's what we call fiat currency. So it's not worth anything, okay? It's got, what's the intrinsic value of a £10 note or $10 note, anybody? Does anybody know what intrinsic value even means? If you were to go on a desert island, right, your plane's crashed and there's just you on a desert island, and you've got the choice. You can either have a paperclip or a £10 note. Which one would you take? Paperclip. Why is that? because it's useful. What can you do with your £10 note on a desert island? Nothing, all right? So with a paperclip, you can turn it into a fishing hook. You can do all sorts of different things with it. You can use it to stitch things up, to make shelters and so on. So it's got a much bigger intrinsic value. Think about this, back in the day as well, in the 1930s, there was a very famous story about a lady who went to buy a loaf of bread from a local bakery in Germany. Now, she had quite a lot of money in notes, a little bit like in Zimbabwe. She actually parked a wheelbarrow full of cash outside the bread shop. She went in to buy the loaf of bread. When she came back out, somebody had stolen the wheelbarrow. They tipped the cash on the floor and run off with the wheelbarrow. True story. That's because the wheelbarrow was worth more than all that cash that was in there. And the same kind of thing is going to happen very soon as well. So you need to learn financial education to get yourself around this. So going back to the gold story as well, what used to happen was, a 1 ounce of gold was exactly the same as $35. The two things were linked. Now, understand that gold never changes in value. 1 bar of gold is worth 1 bar of gold. 1 ounce of gold is worth an ounce of gold. That's the measure, all right? So that never changes. But what happened in 1971 is when the Rothschilds came in and they delinked currency from gold, so the two are no longer linked, and they changed the rules. They came up with the Federal Reserve System, which people think is owned by the Fed. It's not. It's privately owned. It's part of the Rothschilds' bigger sort of picture. By the way, the way that I'm going to die in the future, just so that you know, is through assassination, because it happens once you start sharing this kind of stuff. So just saying, just so that you know, if I go, that's the way it happened. So it happened to look at President Kennedy. He was trying to bring back the banking system that didn't involve the Federal Reserve System. So what happened to him?
I don't know.
Same thing, okay, by the same people, just saying. All right, so think about it. Now, it's privately owned to make profits. They changed the rules. They de-linked the two. So that's when they were able to print more money. So what's happened then is the value of currency has dropped so much. So 1 ounce of gold back in 1971 was $35. What is it today? Does anybody know? 150? Keep going, way more. It's about $1,600, $1,600 today. So if gold hasn't changed in value, what's happened to the value of currency? It's dropped through the floor, all right? And that's continuing all the time. The value of your money is actually halving every 15 years right now. So if you carry on chasing after, say a lot of people are trying to save money for an investment like a house, for example, or even to buy the first house. By the way, it's not even an investment. But what's happening is they're saving money, they're working harder and harder and harder, saving money into something. The value of the money is coming down all the time. And obviously, the price of things are going up as well. It's just getting further and further away. It's a never-ending cycle and they'll never get to there. So what smart people do, what investors have learnt, is that you can use money by borrowing money. You've got this thing called leverage. So if you're just trying to work hard for money all the time, then you're exchanging your time, the most valuable asset that you've got, and you're putting that in to work to make a little bit of money. Whereas if you can leverage money and get money to work for you, that's when the big people start to make big money. So what happened was, one of the things that we'll talk about, you see on there, is credit cards. And for me, credit cards are the fastest and easiest way to increase your credit score, or decrease it if you do it wrong, by the way. But also the fastest way to raise money if you're able to. Now, for some of you, this isn't going to be for you. Some of you don't qualify for this because your credit rating is poor. Congratulations, well done. You've been pushing it hard enough, all right? I was like that. So I know there's a few people in the room. So what I did when I started, I wasn't able to borrow money through credit cards. And that's probably, I'm grateful for that, because back in the day when I wasn't educated enough and my business was sinking, I would have quite happily borrowed tens of thousands to try and make it work. I would have now been in like hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt. So I'm grateful for the fact that I wasn't able to do that. Now I've got that education, it's a whole different ballgame right now. I wasn't able to borrow through credit cards when I got started, but remember, I'm not using that as an excuse to move forward. I had to make some phone calls. And in fact, I relied on one of the most valuable and reliable banks there is. Anybody know which one it is? Bank of Mum and Dad, you've got it, yeah, okay. So, Bank of Mum and Dad. I'm going to give you a bit of an education now on raising money. This is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, I get that. Get over it, because if you want to be comfortable, then stay broke for the rest of your life. Because the thinking that's got you to where you are right now has kept you broke all of your life. Who would agree with that statement, yeah? So change your thinking, do something different, do what successful people do, get brave and stay in the room for the next half an hour, okay? So put your brains in the room. I don't mean physically, wasn't having to go because somebody was legging it out the door. She's that terrified, she's leaving. But some people close down and think, this isn't for me. I've taught this many, many times all the way around the world, and typically half of the room will sit there with their arms folded saying, yeah, give me the lip service, won't even do it because they don't think it's for them. All right, and then what we do is we have a bit of a feedback session later on and find out how you've got on with this exercise. And it turns out that for a 5-minute phone call, people are raising 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds easy just by asking a simple question. All right, and then they think, oh, crikey, maybe I should have done that. Well, let's raise some money. So would you like to know how to do that? Cool. Sell some stuff, tap into your savings account and ask family and friends. All right, sell your telly. You don't need it anymore. Give your time back and money as well. All right, has anybody bought a TV in the last couple of years? One of these big fancy plasma screens? How much did it cost you, Russell?
No, I bought my bride I think altogether about $1,500.
1,500, okay. So that's what you paid for it. But what did it cost you? Think about this. How much time do you spend on, and I'm talking to all of you now, how much time do you actually spend watching one of the biggest, most expensive things that you've got in your house is your TV? Now, don't get me wrong, I've got one. I think I paid a couple of £100 for it, and I spend quality time with my TV watching films with my boys, under a duvet, with pizza and Maltesers, and other healthy food as well, sometimes. But that, for me, is some of the most valuable time spent, you know? But a lot of people spend the time watching Dead Enders, Procrastination Street, and all that kind of stuff. What's that all about, you know? In fact, one of my mentors back in the day says, Chris, get your goals and your dreams. You've all got goals and dreams and desires, yeah? So have you got pictures of those things? Yeah? Get pictures, print them off. Because, in case you didn't know this, your brain works in pictures. It doesn't work in words or lists. It works in pictures. You start to visualize things, okay? So get pictures of the goals, dreams, desires that you want to work towards. And then stick them to a beach towel. Okay, so you've got a big beach towel with all your pictures on there, okay? And then what you do, you take that beach towel and you hang it over your TV, all right? So the next time you're sat in your little armchair with your remote on here and your ashtray over here, if you've got it in the worn out bit of carpet under your feet, because that's where you spend all of your life. Probably not you people, but I've been to houses where it's like that, let me tell you. But rather than watching all that stuff, you can watch your dreams and goals and desires. But if you do want to watch Dead Enders, Procrastination Street, Get Me Out of the Jungle, Celebrity X Factor, Pop Idol, or whatever it's called, you've literally got to push your dreams and goals and desires to one side. How powerful is that? All right, so think about what you do with your time. How much is your time worth? I personally value my time at $5,000 per hour. David, shh, it's all about me now, not about you. Stop talking, okay? So I value my time at minimum $5,000 an hour. So is what you are doing at any moment of any day worth $5,000 an hour? Why am I worth that? Because I've had degrees and qualifications? No, because I've made some good money and I've invested in my education and know how to make that worth. So, you know, people, I'm one of the mentors. So for $25,000, you can spend 3 days with me, Alex, Marcy, or any of these other people and learn how to get that money back and then some. Is that a good investment of your time? Yeah. Absolutely. So who cuts their own grass at home? Who does their own grass cutting, landscape gardening and all that kind of stuff? All right, one or two of you. Who does their own cleaning around the house? Who cleans their own house? Wow. Why would you do that? Don't tell me you enjoy it. If you're going to, sometimes people say, but I really enjoy it. Listen, if you enjoy cleaning, you need to get out more often, all right? There's better things to do with your life than cleaning your house, let me tell you, okay? Now understand this. How much is that time worth? In fact, how much would you have to pay somebody else to go and clean your house, cut your grass, wash your car, do all those kind of things? £10 an hour. Let me tell you, it's $10 an hour, that's all it is. So is your time worth more than $10 an hour? Who thinks they're worth more than $10 an hour? Come on, it should be all of you. Anybody not think they're worth more than $10 an hour? Because you're stuck into the system with your job, all right? So if that's the case, then why waste an hour of your time, right, just to save $10? And what I've learned is, write this down, rich people spend money to save time, whereas poor people spend their time to save money. Think about it. If you want to be wealthy, you've got to act like a wealthy person does first. Don't wait till you're wealthy to start then paying for cleaners, all right? I was in Sydney recently, teaching at the Home Business Summit over there, and I found a laundry around the corner. So it was a 2-minute walk away, and next to it was a barber, so I got my hair cut whilst I was waiting, and I took my bag of washing in there, said, can you make that stuff not smell anymore? He said, yeah, okay, no problem. And I had 3 shirts as well, and I saw there was a thing on the window as well. So I basically dropped my shirts off in a bag in the morning, right? And then I picked them up. Well, I didn't. I had to pay somebody to go and get them $2 she wanted, that was all. So just go and get the shirts for me. 3 shirts, washed, ironed and pressed on a hangover. Hangover. That's what I was suffering from in the morning, okay? So on a hangover, all ready to go. So that would have taken me, I don't know, an hour or two to do all that and to summon the courage to get those, what are those things called that you take the creases out with? Iron, that's the stuff, yeah. I remember those things. All right, but pay other people to do that. Why waste your time doing those mundane tasks? But a lot of people say, yeah, but you can save $20 by doing it yourself. That's why you're broke. All right, so rich people spend money to save time because they know that time is more valuable than the money. Does that make sense? Yeah. So outsource the things that you don't need to be doing. Focus your day-to-day activities on the things that are going to make you actual money. Think about these things. If you want to move forward, you just need more money. Simple as that. So all we need to do is find more money. Savings account. Does it have to be your savings account? It seriously doesn't. Do you know anybody that might have some money? And don't qualify them, just might. Does anybody here know anybody that might have money in a savings account? That's all of you, by the way. Think about this. Would anybody here be comfortable to go and ask to borrow some money from somebody else? Hands up if you would. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Okay, so that's okay, but most of you won't. Why not? Why wouldn't you be happy to go and do that? Let me answer it for you. Because you're too bothered about what's in it for you. You're thinking from a selfish point of view. Because you're going with this notion that you've been taught all your life by poor people that you should never borrow money. Don't go cap in hand and ask to borrow money from people. However, what do we know about savings? What do we know about money now that those people don't know? What's going to happen to the value of their money in the next 15 years? It's going to go down by half. So you're doing them an injustice by not giving them the opportunity to make more money. So rather than thinking about it from your point of view, what could you do to turn it to give it so it's in their point of view, for their benefit? Well, instead of asking to borrow money, which is all about you, what could you give them as an opportunity? An investment opportunity. All right, so don't go up to someone and say, please lend me some money, because that's what beggars do in the street, isn't it? And with, pride and ego gets in the way. Pride and ego costs more people's dreams than anything else, because they won't swallow their own pride and they won't ask for help and they won't put it out there. So rather than going as a beggar to try and borrow money from people, go and help somebody else out, because if they've got money in a savings account and they've not been through this training, the value of their money is going to half. When the credit crunch happens, it's going to be worthless anyway. If you've got more than £85,000 in a bank account in the UK, and when the banks collapse, you could have millions in your bank account, you're only protected up to £85,000. That's it. And if you've got money in different bank accounts, well, there's only actually 4 or 5 different banks anyway, so they all own each other. So you might think that you've got it spread about different banks, but it's all under just one umbrella. So one main bank can own all these different banks as well. And when it all goes belly up, you're only protected to £85,000. That's if money's worth anything anymore anyway. Think about this. So if people have got money in a savings account, they're losing value all the time. You need to do them a favour. You need to help them out. And how do you do that? Give them an investment opportunity. Anybody know a good investment for your family and friends? You. Yeah? You just need to swallow your pride, swallow your ego, get on the phone and make a phone call. And baby boomers are making more money online than anybody else. You might think it would be the millennials because they understand how this thing called computers and stuff work. But no, they're the laziest people on the planet because they've been brought up with this entitlement mentality. It's true. So get out there and just ask some people. If you believe in yourself, then go and do that sales presentation that you need to do to go and do whatever you need to do to get the money, okay? So just go and ask people. It's as simple as that, all right? So sell old stuff as well. Go around your house. I know people, myself included. I used to be into wedding photography. I had quite a lot of expensive equipment. I sold it all. I sold the telly. I sold the car that I had. I went through the whole house selling all sorts of stuff. That's what eBay is for, right? Use that to get rid of all your old rubbish that you don't need anymore. If you've got something in your house that you don't use anymore, get rid. You can always buy new ones in the future, and things improve all the time. Furniture, loads of things. Peer-to-peer lending. Is anybody familiar with peer-to-peer lending? One or two of you? Here's the thing. Banks are not the friendliest places to approach for loans. A lot of people don't like to go to banks, and I understand why. However, peer-to-peer lending is taking over. This is how you can borrow money from other people without knowing the people personally and without having to involve banks. Sounds good so far, doesn't it? The way that this works is it's like crowdfunding, but peer-to-peer lending is, let's say I'm a peer-to-peer lender. Now, I won't hold any money at all, but every one of you, let's say you've all got, I don't know, $1,000 each in a bank account that you want to invest and make more money. So you give me all $1,000 each, so I'm holding this money. I'm not actually holding it, it's just in escrow, if you like. So I'm now going to pay you probably 3 or 4% on that money, more than you're getting, way more than you're getting in a bank. And then somebody else comes to me wanting to borrow £10,000 or £20,000. So I will then lend them some of your money. So any one of you will only have a small percentage of your money being lent to any one person. I just act as the intermediary in between. So if somebody wants to borrow money, go to a peer-to-peer lender. All right, the best one that I know of so far is called, begins with a Z, Zopa. Zopa, yeah. So Zopa loans. So zopa.com, Z-O-P-A. So think about this. If you want to borrow money, you want to be writing this stuff down right now. So zopa.com, you can approach Zopa based on your credit rating. The interest rates range from about 3% to 8%. So, you know, really, really affordable. And they're a lot more lenient than normal banks. And they will lend you as much as you need within limits. And the money will actually come from lots and lots of other people that have got spare money. So think about this. You've got spare money in the future. Rather than leaving it in a bank, you can actually put it into peer-to-peer lenders and make more money out of it. All right? I'll come back to that one in a second. Joint venture. So you can partner up with other people. Understand this. Partnerships are one of those ships that generally don't float very well. And I've seen a lot of partnerships go under because if you've got two people into business, generally you have two different ideas. So you want to be focusing on just yourself, really. Partner up with other people, but have two separate businesses, but then run your two businesses together, but you've still got your own ownership. Does that make sense? So be very careful about partnering up. Asset-based finance. Who's got assets? Think about your assets. What are your assets that you've got? You've got a house. If you've got a house with equity in it, so if your house is worth £100,000, you've got £40,000 outstanding as a mortgage, how much equity have you got? 60,000. So you can go to a lender, you can get a secured loan, so they'll secure it on your house. A little bit more risky than an unsecured loan, obviously. Better than that, you could go and get what we call a flexible option mortgage, an FOM. A flexible option mortgage is quite simply a credit facility of up to potentially 90% of the value of your property. So if your house is worth 100,000 already, you've got a mortgage on there of 40,000, you'll take out a new loan, subject to affordability and income multiples and so on, but up to, let's say, 90,000 of that property, all right? 90%, 90,000. Now, you only need 40,000 of that money straight away to pay off your original mortgage. Are you keeping up with this so far? So of the 90,000 that they grant you, you're only using 40,000 straight away. So how much of that 90,000 are you paying interest on?
50.
Just the 40,000. Just the 40,000 that you've used. So you've now got another 50,000 available. That's what you're thinking. You've got 50,000 available, which is like a credit facility that you can draw down on. And you're only paying interest when you use it. It's called an Aussie-style mortgage. I used to sell these more than anybody else in this country, okay? And in Australia, that's just the norm. But they're available from most lenders right now. Get an independent mortgage advisor to help you through this process as well. Don't just go to your own bank. What about your vehicles? If you've got vehicles or machinery or equipment in an existing business, you can borrow against that. You can actually borrow against a pension as well, by the way. Bank loans is another one. You can go to your bank and borrow some money from a bank. Lines of credit. Some banks will offer lines of credit, so they'll just give you a credit facility, a little bit like an overdraft, so you can just go in and draw money out as you need it. And credit cards, the best way of obtaining money, okay? I'm going to go through an exercise with you right now. Wow, is it that time already? Okay, so everybody cool with this so far?
Yeah.
Slightly uncomfortable for some people, but you've got an exercise to do right now, all right? Who's heard of this phrase before? Where there's a will, there's a way. What I prefer to say is, where there's a will, there's a relative. But I don't want to give you any ideas for raising money, because that's illegal, okay? Right, so, this is the thing. You can make excuses, you can make money, but you can't do both. Borrowing money is good, but only if you're looking at good debt. There's a big difference between good debt and bad debt. Anybody tell me the difference between good debt and bad debt? What is bad debt, for example? Car loan, shopping, shoes, holidays, lifestyle. What's good debt then? Investing in your business. So any money that you're spending that you're making a profit over and above, all right? So if you're borrowing money, but you're making more in profits than it's costing you to borrow the money, is that a good idea? It's called leverage, so you can really scale your business up by doing that as well. Robert Kiyosaki teaches this. If you want to be rich, think big, think differently. So it's about thinking outside the box. It's thinking of doing things very different. Now, who here has ever messed up with credit cards and made a mistake and got themselves into difficulties? Some of you are not even trying hard enough. Come on, let's see more hands going up, all right? Who's never done that? Who's never got themselves into difficulties? How did you manage? How did you manage to do that? You weren't trying hard enough, okay? Yeah, they're the blue people probably, right? So, credit cards cock people's lives up more than anything else. And that's deliberate, by the way. Because you know the banks actually want you to get into trouble. So if you look at a bank, for example, if you go overdrawn, meaning, or you reach at the bottom of your account, meaning you've got no money left, and then a direct debit comes out, what does the bank do? They charge you a penalty. How can they charge you a penalty if you've got no money? But The banks will charge a penalty, and they've got every right to do so because they set the rules. They're in charge, by the way, not the government, it's the banks. So, how much money do banks take from people in unauthorized overdraft fees? Okay, I'll tell you the numbers, and this will blow your mind, right? So just please don't go and rob a bank just because you're angry with them, right? Last year, over $30 billion was charged in unauthorized overdraft fees. In other words, let me reframe that. Banks took $30 billion from people who didn't have any money. Just let that sink in for a minute. That's why they should be spelt with a W, okay? But I call banking, generally, I call it legalized criminality. Where else, are you a banker? Because I know you're the only one giving me, you was, X, good, right. So I know you're giving some pushback right now, but do you agree with what I'm saying?
There are countries where it's illegal to go overdrawn, which is effectively stealing.
Yeah, exactly. And some countries where if you write a check out and so on, but my point is, you would still, incur fees for going overdrawn. That's the point. I mean, look at banks. I was doing business in Cyprus a few years ago. In Cyprus, 2009, they closed the banks down for 2 weeks. Before they opened them up again, they took 20% out of everybody's account, or 10% out of everybody's account. They did the same recently in New Zealand. Back in the day, Argentina was one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. Yet they limited all these billionaires and millionaires to just $500 a week that they could take out. Iceland was the only one that's done it right. I mean, there was rioting on the street, one of the most peaceful countries on the planet. Banks went under, rioting on the street. What did they do with the bankers? Put them in prison where they belong, okay? So that's the only place that's done it right, okay? But this thing, fiat currency that I described earlier on, the world around, every single country in the history of mankind, every single country that has used the fiat currency model has always gone under. Facts, all right? So there are massive changes afoot. So let's think differently. The banks are designed to get you into trouble because that's how they make the profits. Think about it. So they give you all these incentives to get into credit cards and make it so easy to borrow money so that you wrap up massive debts and you start to get yourself completely ruined financially. All right? So let's think a little bit different. Now, I'm going to talk about credit cards a lot right now, which is going to make some people comfortable. Work with me on this one because I've made such a difference to so many lives with this. This has been proven to work around the world. So credit cards are the best way to improve your credit score and ruin it if you do it wrong. So you need to be organized with this one, okay? Fastest way to grow your credit score, but the easiest way to obtain finance. Now, story. Robert Kiyosaki was running, he was a guest speaker. There's a lineup of financial experts all on stage, and there's a huge audience of people just like this. And in the audience, there was a lady that was about $60,000 in debt with a credit card, one credit card, and she was struggling to maintain the payments. So what do you think most people's advice was for that credit card? Just cut it up. In fact, they all started chanting, cut it up, cut it up, cut it up. They brought a big pair of scissors on. And like all these financial experts doing the same thing, Robert Kiyosaki was the one person with a different mindset shaking his head. And the MC noticed, says, listen, Robert, I notice you're not partaking. Have you got a different opinion on this? He says, I blooming have. He says, with respect, it's not the credit card's fault, it's the lady's fault. It's her lack of knowledge. He says, I love my credit card. And he took it out of his pocket and he kissed his platinum credit card and he threw it on the table. He says, try and cut that up. What do you think his platinum credit card is made of? Actual platinum, okay? So everybody say, I love platinum. You do, okay? Because that's going to make a big difference. So his platinum credit card is what he used to be able to turn this thing around. And he said to this lady, or he said to everybody, he says, it's not the credit card's fault, it's the lady's lack of knowledge. If you'll allow me to teach her how to use a credit card, I'll show her how to become a millionaire with that credit card. Because that's exactly what he did. Would you like to know what he taught her? Yeah, this is expensive. I spent a lot of money to learn this. I actually worked with Robert Kiyosaki myself. So credit cards are designed to make it easy for you to get started. But then what people do is they do it wrong, they conform to what is considered normal, and then that's when the trouble starts. So this is your micromanaged business right now. You're going to get into this, treat it like a little business. And I want you to start using your credit cards properly and staying on top of it and getting organized with it. And a quick caveat now, just so you know I'm covered. It's your responsibility to manage this carefully because this can cock things up quicker than anything else. But if you do it right, it'll make the biggest improvement to your financial situation that you'll ever see in your life. All right? So what you need to do is you need to go through your credit cards and get a list of them, get a spreadsheet. Some of you will enjoy that, some of you will hate it, but do it anyway. List your credit cards in there. Don't write the full numbers down. That's silly. Just write the last 4 numbers, all right, and describe them. And what I want you to do is think about this. Credit cards are the easiest way to get hold of money because you can just put it into a card reader, put a PIN number in, and the money's spent, all right? So easy to borrow the money. The problem that you've got is paying it back in a lot of cases. But I want you to just go through an exercise to stretch what you've got right now. Credit cards don't care where the money's coming from or where it's going to, just the fact that money's moving. So on that basis, if you don't use your credit card, you're going to lose it. Who's ever had a credit card with a big credit limit of 10, 20, 30,000 pounds, they haven't spent it, and then they take it off you? Who's ever had that happen? All right, so if you're not using it, you're going to lose it. Now what I've found, credit cards have a very special day. They're very clever at working this out. There is a particular date in the year that they take that massive credit facility away from you. Does anybody know when that is? The day before you need it, exactly right, okay? And how the hell did they know that? I don't know, it just happens that way, all right? So write this down and understand this is so important. This exercise is going to cost you zero money. It will not cost you any money. You're going to do this whether you think you need it or not, because you never know when you might need it, all right? But it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Write that down, okay? It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. You never know when a big financial emergency is going to come into your life where you need to have instant access to cash. If you put your finances in the right way, then ideally you should be locking up bigger chunks of money into gold and silver and solid assets like that. You shouldn't just have liquid capital. Yes, you should have some rainy day funds, 3 months worth of income, typically instant access cash. The rest should be invested, which might need a bit of time to get access to. But if you've got credit cards, you can draw your money down quickly. Think from a greed point of view. If you had the opportunity to invest in a property or a land deal that's going to make massive profits for you, who'd like to be able to do that? My mentor that taught me this, he actually bought a plot of land using credit cards. He had 24 hours to do the deal. Nobody else could do it quick enough. It was an emergency deal. He bought a plot of land for £200,000, held on to it for 2 years, sold it to a builder after getting planning permission for £8.4 million here in the UK. All right, so better to have it than not need it than to need it and not have it. Who would agree that that's the deal of a decade, by the way? How often does the deal of a decade come around? Every day. Every day, providing you're ready for it. Because most of the investments, most of the best investments that are out there, you get invited into, providing you qualify, and most people are not in the right headspace for it. So as long as you've got access to money, you'll be able to do things that you never even thought were possible. All right, but you've got to be qualified for that. Now, use it or lose it. So when you're going out spending money, buying goods and shopping and food and fuel, what do you spend? How do you spend it? How do you buy your things? Who uses a debit card, for example? So where does the money come from when you use your debit card? Straight from the bank. So what does that do to your credit score? Nothing. Do you know how you can remember that quite easily? Jumble the letters up. What happens if you move the letters around? What does it spell instead? Bad credit. Think about that. So it's telling you this all the time. What you should do to get your credit score up and to manage your money, make things work better for you, is whenever you're buying things like food, fuel and shopping, use a credit card and then pay it off with your debit card. So yes, you've got an extra step involved. It's a little less easy and convenient, but you've now got a financial transaction that shows that you've borrowed money and then paid it off. So therefore your credit score is going to go up a little bit. Does that make sense? So if you do that each time, it's the fastest way to improve your credit score. Those of you that have got a really bad credit rating, get a credit builder credit card. Things like Vanquish, Aqua, Capital One, Barclays do one as well, Tesco do one, there's a number of different ones now, and they're designed to build your credit score quickly. They actually build your credit score twice as quick as a normal one, all right? You're going to get high interest rates and low credit limits, so it's not as good for getting hold of plenty of money, but it's going to get your credit score up, all right? But for most people, credit cards are the way forward. Right, so there's a 3-letter formula. You can get anything you want with this if you get this one right. What is it? Anybody know? Sex. Ladies, you can get anything you want with that, as you well know. But no, you're right, it's ask. It's true. Try that one though, maybe. I don't know. You can just, I don't know. Us men will do anything, won't we? So what I want you to do is you need to be asking, what do we need to be asking? If you phoned your credit card company up, what do you want to ask them? Can I have a bigger credit limit? What else? What about your interest rate? Can you lower the interest rate? What else? Do you have any better cards than you want to have got? Go for platinum if you can. The only thing, so you've got 4 different credit cards. You've got your credit builder cards to improve your credit score if that's you. You've got your standard credit cards, which most people have. Platinum credit cards will give you better transfers and higher limits and lower rates. But the best cards are the diamond ones. If you can go diamond, then that's going to give you total freedom. It's going to give you the ability to raise your credit limits beyond anything else. You can get unlimited credit limits in a lot of cases as well. Okay? So, who has got a credit card? Hands up if you've got a credit card. All right, hands up nice and high, because we're going to get a count now. Hands up keep your hands up if you've got 2 credit cards. Okay, only 1 or 2 hands went down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is Nick playing this one as well, because we'll be here for a while. 7, 8, 9, 10. You've been through with this before. 11, 20, 30. Okay, so somewhere between 10 and 20 over there as well. What's the maximum number of credit cards you can get? I think it's around about 35,000 right now. And there is no limit, all right? So just get as many as you can. Is it better to have more or less? More is less. Bigger is better. Isn't that right? Wouldn't you say? More? Obviously, okay? So get the most you can. So the benefit of having this is that what you all need to do, some of you have only got 1 credit card, all right? So you need to get another one fairly quickly, because there's an exercise where we can play about with credit cards where we can move balance transfers from one to another. So if you do this right, you need never make an actual payment at all. So a lot of people think, well, if I put all that money in my credit card, I've got to make the payments. Consumer mindset, still broke mindset, stop it. What you need to be thinking about is, let's just move money around. Credit cards are not bothered. So as long as you've got enough credit cards, you can keep moving balances around. Yeah, each time you do that, there'll be a balance transfer fee. So the debt's never going to go down. If anything, it'll go up. But for a short period of time, it means you don't physically have to pay anything. And if you've borrowed that money into a business, if the business is done right and you've got a mentor and they take you to the next place, what are you going to make? Money. Profit. So what can you do with that profit? Pay it down. All right, so think about this. So all we're going to do is we're going to go through an exercise where I want you to stretch your credit cards as much as we possibly can right now. So the more you play with your credit cards, the more the credit limit's going to grow as well. Yeah, so make a note of that. The more you play with it, the bigger it gets. Okay? So, credit limits. What's wrong with you people? But you remember it now, won't you? All right? So, keep playing with your credit cards. Keep balance transferring from one credit card to another. Right. Who's not got a credit card? Yes, I'm cheeky, but we're having fun. Who's not got a credit card? Okay. If you don't have a credit card, there's 2 or 3 of you. Do you have a bank account? Cool. Phone your bank up and ask for a credit card. Simplest way. They're most likely to accept you because they know you beyond anybody else. If you do have 1 credit card, do the exercise that you're going to do at lunchtime where you're actually going to make some phone calls. Just ask for bigger credit limits. Ask to reduce your interest rates. It's as simple as that. 5-minute conversation. You might have to be on hold for 10, 15 minutes. Just do it anyway. Okay. We don't mind. If you're on the phone while you're talking to us at lunchtime, just make the call, because if you don't make the call, nothing's going to change in your life. Understand that? So I'm looking for people who are coachable here right now. If you want to work with us, if you want us to bring the best resources in to help you grow your business, you need to be coachable. And the first thing is, if we ask you to make a simple phone call, but you won't even do that, don't expect any help from us in your business. Does that make sense? So do this. We're looking for qualification of people right now. I'm not bothered whether you get a result or not. I'm bothered that you actually take the action to pick up your phone. Have you all got a phone? Yeah, because sometimes people have not brought my phone. Borrow somebody else's. Is anybody going to use the excuse that I didn't bring my cards with me? Just go into this thing called the Google, right? Barclay card, and they'll come up with a phone number. You know your name and address, your date of birth, that kind of stuff. So that's not an excuse either, all right? So just make the call. Don't come up with these silly excuses. That's what broke people do. I'll give you a true story as well, because Glenn and Sarah came through this, and I think it was in this exact same room 7 or 8 years ago now, and I was training them up myself, and they had to make a call, same thing that I've got you to do. They're multimillionaires now, very successful, okay? But they were crying their eyes out at this exercise, because it was a stressful thing, uncomfortable thing for them to do. Now, Glenn phoned his bank up, and I think it was Lloyd's TSB, and he says, can I ask for 100, I got them to ask for 100,000 as well. So I'm being easy on you guys, right? So that was uncomfortable for a lot of people. He asked for 100,000 and he said, listen, you've got 3,500 as a limit so far. All I can do is take it to 8,000. So he said, thank you, and then hung up. And then he redialed again 5 minutes later. Same script, same card, same conversation, can I have 100,000? And she says, listen, you've only got 8,000 already. And he says to himself, yeah, no, I've just done that like 2 minutes ago. All I can do is give you another 8,000. 2 phone calls, 5 minutes, 3.5 to 8 to 16,000 as a credit limit. So, the person on the phone, are they bothered that you've already made a phone call before? No. They've got targets to hit. You're making their job easy for them. All right? You've got to understand this. So what I want you to do today, and today finishes around about midnight, doesn't it, Sandra? Okay, so today finishes around about midnight. So what I want you to do today is apply for as many credit cards as you can possibly get your hand on. I want you to make some phone calls to your credit card companies, stretch what you've got. All right, ask for bigger credit limits, ask to reduce your rate, ask if they've got any better cards that you can pick that you've already got. And then I want you to apply for as many new credit cards as you possibly can today. Also, the one thing that I want to add on to this as well, we're going to be talking about, has anybody heard of Facebook, by the way? It's this new little website, there's 1 or 2 people on it, okay? So it's a whole new thing, we'll tell you all about it, it's amazing, you're gonna love it, okay? So Facebook is, for me, it's one of the best ways to place adverts and find the right kind of people. Why do I mention that? Because in order to place an advert, you need to have an ad account. Who's got an ad account set up on Facebook? Okay, who's got more than one? 5, more than 5, more than 10, more than 20, 100, we're aiming for 100. How many are you up to now?
I'm not sure because like a copy paste, but I have lots of them.
Lots is the right answer. You know, you can have multiple ad accounts, but each ad account needs to have a different credit card. So one of the reasons why we want you to get multiple credit cards is so that you can actually fund your traffic. One of the ongoing expenses you're all going to have always, forever, is traffic, is placing adverts. All right, so if you can have multiple ad accounts with multiple credit cards, you use it as a revolving form of credit. So you place the advert on Facebook, that gets charged to your credit card at the end of the month, and then you start making sales and commissions. You're up to 45 days before your commission comes in. By the time your commission comes in, your payment's then due on your credit card, so you pay it off. So you're never incurring interest charges. Does this make sense? If you're having to use your own money, then how many debit cards have you got? Well, if you've got one bank account, it's one ad account. That's the slowest, that's the fastest way to kill your business. All right, slowest way to grow it. So you need to have multiple ad accounts, but that's one of the reasons why you need multiple credit cards as well. If you don't qualify for a credit card, get a prepaid MasterCard. There's dozens of them. Google it. Right, so you can actually put money onto a MasterCard. You can get a credit card, a MasterCard with PayPal. Right? You can use PayPal as a payment method, but you can also get a card to come straight out of your account as well. There's multiple ways you can get lots of different cards. But if you've got the ability to get credit cards, do that, because you're going to need that this weekend. And I know what training is coming up this weekend. You're going to be grateful that you did this exercise. So a little bit uncomfortable for some of you because you're making phone calls and what have you, but get over it. You're business people now. Just make a simple little phone call, speak to somebody on the end of the phone and ask for more money. It's free money, for crying out loud. So if you've got the ability to raise money in a credit card at 0%, if you've got money in a savings account, put the money that's in a savings account into a peer-to-peer lender and charge other people for it. It's cheaper to use credit cards than your own money. Make sense? Right. Make the phone calls to the credit cards, okay?